If you struggle with your one-handed backhand, this is the video to watch, because in this video I'm going to explain one of the key elements that will make the one-handed backhand for you a lot more solid. So stay tuned. Some of the basic elements of the one-handed backhand, but I really want to focus in one key area which I think a lot of people struggle with. Now, some of the basic elements are normal split step, we're getting our racket back, and how we get our racket back, meaning that the butt of the racket is pointing slightly away from our body so we can get it down into this motion. This is where we find a lot of players getting into a lot of trouble. What they're misunderstanding or they don't understand is how to get leverage on the one-handed backhand. I talk a lot about leverage, and you've probably heard me talk about that in a lot of other videos. Leverage is the key to producing power and consistency on all your strokes, whether it be your forehand, your serve, volleys, or overhead. Now, what leverage means is how we're going to use the racket. And my biggest example is using it like a hammer. Okay? So, in the backhand, when we take it back, we want to use the racket like a hammer, but pretending that the strings are the head. We're going to pull the racket into contact. Now, two mistakes that I see a lot of players making. One is that when we're pulling the racket into contact, we start snapping the wrist forward. If you can see, my wrist is straight, and we lose the leverage. The leverage is also the kind of cool that it's got the L. We want to keep that L in our forearms as long as possible through the contact. Now, when we pull the racket, we want to make sure we have this L position here. I'll do it from the side. We're pulling, we have this L position. This is a key element to the one-handed backhand. The second little mistake, or big mistake that you might be making, is thinking that when we pull the racket into the ball, we're going to keep going straight. And what happens is this causes you to what I call unlock your wrist and go forward. So you see a lot of backhands looking like this, here and in here. You get this really funky finish. You can't figure out how do you get the finish like a Federer or Almagro. Well, one of the key differences when you take the racket back, and if you're not unlocking here, is that you got to understand that your racket, you're going to pull your racket actually across your body. We're not pulling it forward. We're pulling from here across, which now, since I'm pulling the racket across, is going to pull the racket head into the contact and the ball, and then we're going to keep pulling across, having this nice long finish. Okay, I'm going to hit a couple demos to show you the difference of making sure when we pull the racket, we're pulling the racket across your body and not pulling the racket straight and then trying to make it happen with the wrist at the end. I'm going to show you how I'm going to pull across my body and what it looks like to set up here and you see my racket pulling across my body versus if you're what I call snatching at the ball. You're snatching at the ball with the racket and doing a lot with the wrist. So remember, I'm going to set my racket up, drop under, and pull out and across my body. So it looks like this. Versus snatching at the ball. So in summary for the one-handed backhand, make sure we're taking the racket back, and as we pull, we're pulling across the body, keeping that L shape in the wrist, that leverage position we talked about at contact, and finishing with a nice wide finish. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you check out my new site at totaltennisdomination.com and subscribe to my YouTube so you can get all the latest content that I'm producing to help you with your tennis game. This is Kevin Garlington, and play tough.